Welcome again to another pop culture Petri dish. I am one of your hosts, Abe Epperson, and here with me, as always, is my co-host,
Christian Ramirez.
Hey, man.
Hey.
So, this is the program where we talk about... I say program like I'm a fucking old lady. This is the podcast where we talk about how science fiction and science fact meet and vice versa. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about today, Christian?
Today we are going to be covering Megacities.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know, Judge Dredd is one of the big ones, for sure. But also Blade Runner, the city of Los Angeles, and Blade Runner would count as a megacity. I mean, Los Angeles now is technically a megacity. A megacity is any city, any continuous urban development area with a population of more than 10 million people. So really, I mean, right now we currently have 32 megacities in total across the world. Most of those are in Asia. We have a couple of them here in the United States, Los Angeles and New York. And then, so that's pretty much that concept taken to the sci-fi realm of like Judge Dredd Megacity 1, where it's just miles and miles of people stacked on top of each other.
Like tenement living style.
Yeah, living really close together. And of course, like Coruscan't in Star Wars, just an entire planet that's a city. Stuff like that.
Well, so you mentioned Judge Dredd. I also saw you had some examples. Metropolis, 1927, from Fritz Lang, one of the first movies that we got about that topic.
Yeah.
Escape from New York, I like that one.
Yeah.
John Carpenter, I guess he has multiple because Escape from New York and L.A., I guess. Blade Runner, Judge Dredd. Danny Cannon. I don't know what Danny Cannon is.
He's the one that he's the director of Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd. I see how you did it. Megacity 1. That's the name of it.
Yeah. We got a couple of years ago. This was in 2016 in October. A video came out that was supposed to be, I'm not sure if it was ever confirmed, but it was supposed to be from the Pentagon talking about, it was titled Megacities Urban Future, The Emerging Complexity. And that was one that basically... The idea was that the Pentagon is analyzing the future of megacities and trying to analyze the threat of it. And what they were saying was basically in a megacity, which is more than 10 million people, if you have 1% of the population that doesn't want to cooperate, that's 100,000 people that are a potential rebel force or like just criminal force or whatever it is. So it's almost impossible to police. It's one of the things where you have to either completely cordon off the area where the conflict is happening and just wait it out, or it's going to be intense fighting with lots of casualties on both sides within whatever area is fighting in the city at the time. And I mean, we have urban warfare. Modern urban warfare is some of the worst stuff. We have a lot of doctrine built around it, but none of it is prepared to handle populations of more than 10 million people being involved in a large urban area. Mm-hmm. So it was something that, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but it does make sense that the Pentagon would see it as a potential issue for the future, considering there are 32 megacities on the planet right now.
We have a lot of land, though.
Yeah, we do.
So, like, I feel like so there's tragedy of the commons, as far as I understand that concept in environmentalist terms. You have a finite resource and like something that is like an infinite growth. And that is, so the tragedy of the commons, let's say you have a lake and there's only so much fish, but then people start fishing and now there's no more fish.
Right.
That's a tragedy. So megacities would grow and grow and grow because that's how our population does. Unless we get to like zero population growth, right? If we just start offing kids, or we just, have, like Brave New World it or something like that. There's a lot of ways around that complex problem. Jonathan Swift has some things to say. But if we didn't do that, if we felt morally we could not curtail people from having as many children as they wanted, and it didn't become like a legislation from like a global government, that is an unruly, very taxing to the megacities themselves. Now, as you mentioned, we mentioned a lot of different problems like food and sewage and stuff, and you mentioned crime.
Yeah.
That means we would have to have some new crazy technology,
yeah.
or also have fewer moral scruples about it. So we would either have a Judge Dredd situation where they're now judge, jury, and executioner, or you'd have, and even that they talk about, like, it's still not doing nearly enough. Like, we get to like 8% of crime. You know, what do you do with the other 92%? Just crime happens. You know, like, so it's not even that effective of a deterrent against crime. You know, criminal enforcement is not an effective. Or you do something like some crazy technology happens, like in Minority Report, where it's like there's pre-crimes or pre-cogs or something like that. So the reason I brought up Tragedy of the Commons is that we have this infinite growth cycle.
Right.
And then also, like, if we choose for some weird reasons at this point that we need to find, we all need to live in LA, which is already a stupid place to live, then that becomes the Tragedy of the Commons, right? Yeah. So, like, to me, it seems an obvious solution that, like, as more people are brought onto the earth, like, more people move to Siberia, more people move to the Midwest.
Yeah, that's,
you have to.
That's the most simple answer, and like probably the best way to deal with it. The problem is that a lot of people, I mean, the projected growth of cities right now means that by the year 2050, 70% of all the people in the world are going to live in a city, in an urban area.
Why would they do that?
Because there's more opportunities and stuff like that in the city.
True. Jobs. But I just feel like they would just go back to, like, this is not like a village. This is also like a big city. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of jobs that can be outsourced. I don't know. What the fuck do I know?
No, I think that's actually really smart
tiers
insight.
Of cities.
Yeah, because I do think that there's, rather than having everybody cram into a megacity, because one of the problems that Pentagon video outlines is that it's going to increase the wealth disparity. It's going to increase the rich will have even more in a megacity, and the poor will have even less. So you imagine, like, this is a thing that's a theme in some of the Star Wars fiction about Coruscant, is that the richest people are living in the high rises at the very top of everything, and the poorest people live in the lower levels or even underground, trying to kind of scrounge for whatever scraps that they can get.
Yeah, I mean, technology can solve the problem.
Right.
You know, but that's not a good way of anticipating and, like, let's go forward and hope that we'll solve climate change in 10 years, because we've been doing that for a while, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of see what Thanos is saying, you know, like, I know that's unpopular. I know it's unpopular, but I mean, he's got a point. I mean, maybe not the universe, because who knows.
Yeah.
But, like, just offing people left and right, just like random, though, that there's something cool and collected about random, but don't just off people. I'm not advocating killing people in the name of environmentalism, but it's gonna happen anyway.
Well, and, like, part of the problem is that there are, like, very small percentages of people that are hoarding all the resources that we could use to make the environment better and stuff like that.
That's true. It's not about food production. We have enough land and enough crops and seeds and shit. We can, for the most part, feed everyone in the world.
Yeah.
Right now, we're good. The problem is getting that food to the people. That is the main, like, doorstop.
Yeah.
You know?
It's having people that actually have access to locally grown food and stuff like that. So we don't waste half the food when we're shipping it. It doesn't go bad. And then we have to just kind of sort through and give what's left of the food to the people that need it. Like, there's a lot of things that, like, basically there are a lot of things that we can do to make our system better, because we've already figured out how to mass produce meat in a way that is ridiculous. Like, there's no way. Yeah.
Highly effective.
There's no way that Americans need to eat as much meat as they do currently. And that's not me being like a weird PETA person. Like, I eat meat. So, I mean, I understand that I probably eat too much meat. But I'm saying that just broadly. Like, you don't need to have an entire chicken every couple days just because that's what you want to eat.
Right.
Like, we can eat more vegetables and stuff like that, because the higher up you go on the food chain, the more expensive that is
in
to the
terms
rest
of water
of the environment.
and land and such. Considering like a climate like America, because I think America, since we're like well known for a lot of land and building and higher end population, and of course the most important metric, which is like quality of life.
Yeah.
As we get closer to these more current megacities getting bigger, and also the formation of new quote unquote megacities, it could become very toxic very quickly.
Yeah.
Where we have megacities. Then we have Megacities. Expand on that. Thank you, everyone. I'll be here all night. No, that's a terrible joke. I should just quit podcasting. This is my official resignation.
Abe, I need you for at least 2 more today.
Yeah, but I mean, like, because, like, wouldn't that happen when you, like, a megacity, like Megacity 1, it's all a bunch of people, but, like, like in the new one, they had peach trees, and it was like the drug cartel took that shit over. There would be a sense of tribalism over, just kind of how sports happens. It's just like, no, I grew up on this block. We have that now with like, like, where did you grow up? Well, I was 408. That was my area code. I was 313, so people know where you're coming from and like how you lived kind of thing.
Yeah.
So with if it was a nicer megacity versus a shitty megacity, that got, like that would only make it more of a brew station for these rebels that you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the major things that video tries to address, is that because of the fact that there's going to be a larger amount of wealth disparity, it's going to give people that are willing to break the law more opportunities, because people are going to have a need that is not going to be able to be fulfilled by official channels. So they're going to go to people, whoever it is that can fulfill that need. It's the same thing as what the opioid problem in the United States is right now. People become addicted to opioids because doctors are prescribing them. And then once they can't afford those anymore, they go to heroin, because that is the next best thing that they can do. And it's illegal, but well, what else are you going to do? You're going to either live in pain, or you're going to feed the addiction that you already have. And of course, because it's one of the most powerfully addictive substances in the world, you're going to keep going after that addiction. Right. And that's just going to be on a larger scale when it comes to people not being able to eat because they can't afford the food that is being provided to them by, I don't know, Whole Foods of the future in Los Angeles. So
Taco Bells.
Yeah.
So it kind of is relevant with this megacity stuff, is that as we have a bigger population and we cram them into things like the peach trees of the future, you now have essentially the population of a small country, definitely of a state within like a 6-mile radius. And now, and as we take the kind of tacit belief that globalization is like the unifying, kind of like it becomes a hegemony, like we are all citizens of Earth, and they're like these borders don't matter, man, because we got aliens, which would be kind of great, and a later topic for us. I am actually looking at, we're probably going to talk about it. But as the population grows, humanity's ability to like have a number of friends or people they're comfortable seeing does not extend more. So there may be more people on the Earth, but it's not like back in the day when there was only 10,000 people on the Earth. We were like looking around and we're like, shit, I saw a new guy today. Are you kidding? Yeah, it wasn't Steve or Barbara or Daniel. It was this other guy. They're like, that's fucking out. That's crazy. He's new. But now I walk outside and it's like everyone is,
everyone's a
different
stranger.
Person. Yeah. Everyone has that, everyone's experienced this. We're all people. And it's just, it's what Dwight Schrute says, like, we need a plague. It's so when it comes down to it, we're gonna be super desensitized to the otherness of people outside of our like group, like given our own limitations of our brain's ability to extend the olive branch towards new people because of the extensions of just like how our brain works. We only can extend so far, and it's like at a certain point it becomes too much and it shuts down because the pattern can't be recognized. When that happens, isn't it that population growth hurts the globalization of the world? Yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense, because there is, I can't remember the study that they did, but apes are able to recognize X amount of people and humans are able to recognize...
social circles.
Yeah. I think the last number that I heard was like 120 something people that you can have as that you consider a part of your actual like circle, like your extended familial circle.
Does that mean like people you know the name of?
Right.
Or does that mean like people that you like know their parents' names?
Right. It's more of the people that you would consider like an extended family.
Right.
That's about our max is 100 and something people.
Because I know like 8 people. 8. I want to say 8.
So you've got more than 100 that you can add to it potentially.
Cool. So you're saying I got potential. No, I see what you're saying. I mean, this has been popularized for years, and they did a lot of studies about like how you interact on Facebook, like how many people do you actually keep in touch with, because they have the data.
Right, and I think that there's probably an upper limit to the amount of people that we can consider part of our family, but I don't know if there's an upper limit to the amount of people that we can consider part of like our community as far as like a larger community. I don't know what that number is because the internet is showing that we are very capable, at least some people have the ability to consider like vast numbers of online communities that all consider themselves part of this group of people. This is how I identify as far as like the gamer community or So I do think that we have a higher number than we probably think that we are capable of. But yeah, of course, there's going to be the fact that when we don't recognize somebody that's actually there with us in person, when we're interacting with 10 million people in a 6-mile radius, then there's going to be feelings of like strangeness and tribalism and like, why is that person? I don't recognize this person. Why are they in my neighborhood? That already happens a lot now.
What movies and science fiction likes to dwell on is the technology aspect about how we can solve smaller problems. They may not seem small, like food and sewage and, like crime. Those are big problems because they're not insurmountable. They're stuff. That's why we focus on them as like pattern recognizers. Humans are like, well, we get better cops. Well, we get a better justice system. We get a better food disposal system. We just beat it with our gumption and our technology. There's no amount of technology that can really solve our inability to look across the aisle and be like, that doesn't look like me. And we're still getting over that problem. So how is globalization going to exist? So that's like a big problem. And the small problems is what I think science fiction movies, especially, because that's probably most of how most people consume science fiction through movies these days. And there's a lot of smaller, good books about it, but I don't know. They're not as like, for example, in Fifth Element, they I guess it's technically Blade Runner. They were just like, there's too many cars. How do we do the cars? And then they're just like, guys, I got it. You put one car on top of the other car. It's like, what about lanes? He's like, you got Y-axis lanes now. We're crazy with this shit. We got 3-dimensional lanes. It's like, this guy's a genius. Now you got your car problem solved.
Right.
More or less.
Solving our hardware stuff that's programmed into us as humans is a much more
until we get like
problem.
Human 2.0 or like, where everyone's a part of the collective.
Yeah. Right now.
Or the galactic Ansible.
Yeah. Right now we do have the ability to, just with our current scientific technology, we can address most of the problems that people worried about 100 years ago, as far as like you were talking about food and infrastructure and stuff like that. We know how to handle these problems, or we can figure it out pretty easily with the knowledge that we already have. The stuff that is going to run into our upper limits as far as what we are physically capable of, because we are just hairless apes, that is the stuff for the future that Human 2.0 is going to have to solve, because we just don't have the capacity to do it. Or some other
thing that we don't even know. I think we should just all become computers.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, right. And you mentioned, what did you say again? You said that in 1980 there were 5 megacities?
Yeah, in 1980. So basically the population growth in cities over the last 100 years are projected to 2050 is in 1950 there were 2, in 1980 there were 5, in 2010 there were 20, And now, just in the past 7 years, there's 12 more on top of that.
And
so
we're talking about that
megacities.
10 million number people.
At least 10 million people. The Tokyo, Yokohama area is the largest, and that one has 37.8 million people.
Jesus.
Yeah. And that's and like I said, megacity is defined as a continuous urban area.
Not necessarily not like Manhattan versus LA, because then we have different like square foot areas. But I mean, it's just continuous. Yeah, I get that. Because otherwise it's comparing apples and oranges, and also you also got the coastline problem where it's like this infinite kind of.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues of the future is that there's a bunch of places that could merge into single megacities just through urban expansion, and that would create like super megacities. I think in China there's an area that's Shenzhen, Hong Kong, and one other city that they said could eventually merge into one megacity that would end up having like a population of over 100 million people, and between that one continuous urban area.
Now, if we get so many people in Japan, are you worried about it sinking? Sorry. I had to do that. So we got all, but like, what's the environmental impact? Not on how is the environment going to help us, but like, so you know how in like the human body, which I know it's not a 1-to-1 parallel for human body, if you binge drink versus if you just drink all the time, you know, they have different repercussions to the body, and one is more dangerous than another.
Right.
Have we done any studies where in a megacity would be more drastically more disadvantageous than just having like, let's just spread everybody around, but let's hit that 15 billion mark at the same date, just we're not overpopulating cities.
There haven't been any.
It's a big problem. It's a big question.
There weren't any studies that I could find, because I think the megacity question in general it's a recent problem. It's only the 1950s that we had 2 in the entire world. So I think basically there are positives and negatives to megacities. The negative part being that, yes, there's a bunch of people that are creating pollution and waste and all that stuff that would hurt the immediate environment around wherever they are. But I think one of the positive things about that is that it would also allow for us, whoever it was living in the megacity, to, I guess, make legislation and pass initiatives and stuff like that would make us able to live in a more clean way.
Right, because you get bigger bang for your buck if you build it it's like the street grid of Manhattan. It's just like, it's a lot more efficient technically because we built it on a grid. Yeah. It's not like London, that piece of shit city that
first
just has
megacity, I think.
Goes all over the place. Yeah, Industrial Revolution. Because I was thinking about this because it's all contingent on like what technology. Like for some reason, it's just like, guys, we solved it. Sewage is never going to be a problem ever again. They're like, awesome. So you're telling me 20 million people and like sewage is taken every day. We clean it out. It's all good. Only problem, only runs on coal. It's like, that's just the only small thing. They're like, really? We can't use electricity? Nope. For some reason, nope. So obviously there can be exhaust and, detrimental particulates that get into the, health of the atmosphere. Yeah. Depending on these new technologies, which are kind of a variable, just like an X. We can't tell. They're the future. The future us will tell us what that number is, whatever that quotient is. I've seen some interesting work happening in New York and Tijuana. Goddamn, I'm forgetting. It's an artist, and I'll try to find it and put it in the notes if I can. I think I want to call it like Machine Project or something like that. But what it is these guys there's a part of the group that they design like low footprint, like hotel kind of stuff. Like,
cool. Yeah.
A lot of spaces that like everything is green, everything like it looks and feels like a normal toilet, but then it goes down to a like the black water goes into the like disposal, and it's treated like the little houses use, where it's like it's a mulch based. So they solve that. There's waste, and then water goes. They have their own like basic like filtration system that desalinates the water and like brings in like water from the ocean and stuff like that. And so the only thing that they have a big footprint on is like power, and they decided to make all the windows solar panels, and like at the top there's like gardens and stuff like that. And they made it not like a superstructure, but like a kind of wide, mile long building, kind of like a mall in America, where you would never have to technically leave. It's like, think of a cruise ship that is actually healthier for the planet, right? Which is very easy. But make it a land cruise, like there's no reason to leave. You have all your shopping centers, you have all your things, everything's automated. And everyone inside works with the building. So it's like a commune, but it's like a larger commune. So the only kind of premise is that we can solve these 3 or 4 technologies that we haven't solved, and then people like sign up and are like down to do this, because you kind of live like an auxiliary lifestyle. That's cool. Once again, I think that they're going to start burning the American flag and building their own flag, because then they're going to be like, we're fucking better than everyone else. We fucking rule. We solved this shit. When you didn't really solve anything, you just opted into a system that some genius created. And that's what I'm most like, if I want to leave us at anything, Abe is most scared of the limitations of humanity's ability to solve overpopulation dynamics. There
has been, even since the 1960s, let me check this. Have you ever been to Disney World?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay. So at Disney World, they have one of the parks is called Epcot, and Epcot is Walt Disney's idea basically of a future city. The Epcot is an acronym that stands for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. And so he was thinking about this back in the 1960s, and this is what he's been wanting to do after he got past like Disney making movies and stuff like that. He wanted to work on the cities of the future, and to have, this is the transportation system, this is how it's going to work. And Epcot's actually a really like cool kind of hippie ideal thing, because it's a bunch of different countries are represented there. Most people just go there to drink around the world, and so you take a shot or a drink in each one of the different countries that's represented, except
the Jews. That's a joke for people who understand that Walt Disney was a famous anti-Semite.
Terrible anti-Semite. But he did want to have...
building the community for tomorrow.
But yeah, so like these are... And even we were talking about Metropolis. That's another one that was an idea of a city of the future. And I think it's good that we've had that drive since we understood that megacities and stuff like that were going to be a thing. Of course, there's the Judge Dredd version of it too, where it's just crime ridden and it's terrible. But I think that, because currently there are cities like Portland that are really investing into green technology, and even in Long Beach, where I live,
San Francisco,
Long Beach is one that they're trying to be the most green port in the world and have the fewest emissions and all that kind of stuff. So I think that we are a good generation to start building that future that is going to be better for everyone else, rather than going towards the Escape from New York future or the Judge Dredd future or any of that, or even the Minority Report future, where there's a pre-crime division and people get arrested for crimes they never committed. I think that we are better suited and more capable just in general to like making a better future, because we already have an example of the Tokyo Yokohama megacity. They have one of the lowest crime rates in the world. It's one of the cleanest cities in the world. It's really just amazing what they've done. And so I think we can do it. I have some faith in us. It's just a matter of us like taking responsibility for it and going, yes, we don't want to live in Judge Dredd. We want to live in Epcot. We want to live in a better place.
I just want to know when I get my psychic slaves. Minority Report. Because the whole point of that is like it's a highly effective system. But they're like, down with the system. It is corruptible. I'm like, so even dash cams are. Like they've just put things in front of it. Normal cops aren't necessarily perfect either. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to enslave 3 people to save millions. God forbid. No, I would never do that. Everyone needs choice. That's the important thing. That's what we're leaving you with. Yeah. Choose your megacity well, everyone. Gargantua 1's a great choice. I would go with that one. Sure. I'm going to space. Anything else you want to leave us on this topic with?
No, I think I've pretty much said everything that I want to say about megacities. I think it's fascinating, though. As humans, we're so capable of living together as one kind of organism and all doing different jobs and doing different things to make things. And we can do that for the betterment of humanity, or we can make everything worse for everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Egalitarian Christian coming in. I don't have anything else. I puked out all of my jokes. So I guess I'll leave you with thanks for listening, everyone. This has been our episode about megacities. And I think this is episode 10.
Yeah.
So congratulations on the 10th episode.
Hey, 10 episodes. Congratulations.
We'll probably be seeing you, or, I mean, that would be weird. I guess you'll be hearing us in like 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The Beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you!